and he mouth it. Yo, okay, we got another video today, but today we're doing a review of Stranger Things 4, right? So we're talking about both volumes today. We're gonna combine it, and there is gonna be spoilers, so if you have not finished Stranger Things 4, I'm gonna need you to hop on the Netflix right now, turn off this video, and go ahead and finish the whole series, right? Or the whole season, or whatever you wanna call it, right? Volume 1 and 2, okay? Volume 1 is 7 episodes, or 8 episodes, I believe. Here, remember, I probably should have did my research before I got on here. And Volume 2 is 2 episodes, but they're movie length, so they're really long. So, go ahead and hop on there, go ahead and finish that, and then hop back over this video so we can talk about it. Wow! Fire! Now, Stranger Things 4 was on point. It was on point. That is how I always envisioned Stranger Things to be. I really enjoyed it, and we're gonna talk about why right now. Now, Stranger Things 4 brought a fairly new tone to the series, right? This new tone was more of like a horror movie, Nightmare on Elm Street style feel. Like it had that element of horror to it, like where the villain, which we'll get to in a second, basically it was more psychological. It was more like, all right, so Freddy Krueger, obviously he would kill you in your dreams. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better walk the door. 5, 6, yeah, crucifix. 7, 8, better stay up. All right, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. But anyway, was that creepy? I bet it was. The villain in this show was doing something very similar. He was getting his victims in a very similar way, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, all of your favorites are in the movie. I mean, in the show. All of your favorites are in the show, and they did have an addition of a couple new characters. One in particular that we'll talk about, who was, in my opinion, he was like probably the star of the season. So, and we'll get into that. I've said that like 5 times. Why don't I just get into it, huh? Right? Anyway, now all of like our cast members are all spread out throughout, you know, one could call it the world, right? So you got Will, Elle, and I keep forgetting Will's mom's name, but Winona Ryder. They're in California. They left Hawkins, went out that way. You got Mike and the gang is all back home in Hawkins. So Mike, Dusty, Max, Lucas, that whole gang is all still back home in Hawkins. They're doing the Hellfire Club, which is Dungeons and Dragons, which they've been doing since the beginning of the show. Then you've got Hopper. Hopper is in Russia. Oh, spoiler, Hopper is alive, which we knew. I mean, you really thought he was dead? You really thought Hopper was dead? Hopper? Come on, man. Stop playing with me. Anyway, Hopper is in Russia, and he's going through it in Russia. That's it for now, right? So they're in 3 places, but they go into a 4th, which you would probably presume to be the Upside Down, which they... And it's kind of playing off of last season, obviously, with the Mind Flayer taking out Billy, and we're kind of coming to grips with his death. When it comes to Max, she's dealing with the death of her brother, but in a different way than you would think. Basically, this season focuses around the gang and, you know, how they're in high school now, so they're all, you know, dealing with adolescence, I guess, kind of how we all did, you know what I'm saying? But this guy, new character, his name's Eddie Munson. This dude is on point. They killed this character. Killed this character. Eddie Munson is the leader of the Hellfire Club. So he's the leader of the Dungeons and Dragons Club. It's said in there that he's, you know, been in high school basically forever. He is our new character. He comes in leading Dusty, Lucas, Mike and Dusty, Lucas, and Mike, and then they bring in Lucas's little sister. Lucas is playing on the basketball team, and he's living a double life with the Dungeons and Dragons crew and the basketball team, and he's trying to, you know, kind of juggle both of them. However, you know, he's a cool kid now because he plays basketball, and in the show he scores the game-winning shot in the championship, wins the championships. Now he becomes a hero, and now it's like, oh, like, you know, I'm this really popular dude now, but I still love my Dungeons and Dragons people. So he's trying to kind of juggle both of them. So basically, where I'm going to start off is there's a lot of storylines. There's a lot of storylines in this one, in volume 1. So you've got, the ones I'll touch on are Elle not having her powers, and then now she's over in California being bullied, which is wild. She's being bullied, but she's also, you know, Mike is coming to visit, so she's not trying to let her boyfriend know, like, you know, they picking on me. Like, she's trying to be like, oh, they're all my friends, they're all awesome. And I'm like, God. And she also doesn't have her power, so she be freaking out on people, and people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you alright? They have that storyline. Then you have the Max with Billy storyline that I mentioned. You have the Hopper storyline where he is trying to get, I keep forgetting her name, I need to look it up, Will's mom back to, you know, he's trying to, he sends her a little doll that says that he's basically, they tell her that Hopper is alive and how to get him back. So she goes and deals with that in Russia with Murray, which is hilarious. And then you've got Eddie Munson and the Hellfire Club versus the basketball team. Now how this comes about is the main, I can't remember the main basketball players. He reminds me of Tom Brady, and anybody watching this video who knows me knows how I feel about Tom Brady. Can't stand him. Anyway, but he reminds me of Tom Brady. Like, he'll get up and he'll do his little speech or whatever. He's, you know, a handsome dude or whatever. Pause. But his girlfriend, her name is Chrissy, and Chrissy secretly meets up with Eddie to buy weed off him. So what happens is the new villain, his name is Vecna. Dude, we gonna get to Vecna in a second, but Vecna feeds on, like he basically attacks people's subconscious, because he, you know, he can do the mind thing, which we'll get into why that we can do that in a little bit. But Chrissy goes over to Eddie's crib to buy some weed off him, and Vecna gets her while she's at the crib. And they frame Eddie for the death of Chrissy. So now Tom Brady guy, his girlfriend has been basically killed by Eddie Munson, who's the leader of the Hellfire Club. So now there's this big, like, dude, that was a crazy storyline. So they all think, the whole town thinks Eddie Munson is a murderer. And it almost is, it's funny because every time somebody dies, it's near Munson. Like, somehow, some way, he's around in some capacity. Anyway, so the way Vecna kills his victims, I'm gonna just show y'all this. If you seen it, they float in the air like this right here, and they mouth it, and he just drops them. Oh my God, it's brutal. The first death, Chrissy's death, brutal. They were not holding back. Dude, Stranger Things 4, let me tell you something. They were not holding back. They killed Chrissy off right off the bat. So she dies in Eddie's crib. Yo, shit was on point. Like, she's getting, so basically Vecna goes into their mind. He starts fucking with them in their mind. Kind of like Freddy Krueger, how he did them in their dreams. And they're standing there like this in real life. They're like, so people are looking at him like, yo, what the fuck is going on with you? Like, you good? And the whole time they're in their head going crazy. They're running from Vecna, and he's just it was wild. It was, like, honestly terrifying. So Munson sees her die and he dips. She dies in his house. He takes off. I'm out. Sorry, I gotta go. So the town's looking for him. Tom Brady's looking for him. And they are now looking for, so they're looking for the Hellfire Club. So they're looking for Dusty, Mike, and then Lucas. Now the Max storyline is with, you know, the death of Billy. She's coping with that, so she's basically shutting everybody out of her life, and she's trying to cope with the death of her brother, but not in the way you would think. In this story, and you find out in volume 2 that she actually wanted Billy to die. Like, she was kind of like, bro, something gotta happen to Buddy. So when he dies, she then feels the guilt of wanting him to die, and it actually happened. So now she wants to die herself. She doesn't want to live with that guilt anymore. So Vecna, spoiler alert, I've already said that, but I'm just trying to bring this home. Max becomes a Vecna victim. Say that 5 times fast, holy shit. She's being tormented by him, and she realizes, all right, so this is what's been happening in the town. There's obviously 2 more victims before Max gets attacked, but she's like, this is what's happening. I noticed the pattern. It's me. I'm next. So we're gonna have to, you know, I gotta say my goodbyes. So she writes letters to everybody, hands them out, and yeah, and I don't know if you guys have seen It, the movie It. Phenomenal. It's got some of that shit in it too. Like, it's crazy. So Vecna comes for Max, and this was probably one of the best scenes of the series when he does get her, and she kind of escapes, and Vecna pulls out all the stops. He puts her in his little crib or whatever, and he ties her ass up on the little wall and shit. And he's like, hey man, listen, I'm coming for you. I gotta get you.
You were darling, is all.
You know what I'm saying? And he goes to hit her with it, and she's actually at Billy's gravesite talking to him, and she's gonna lay his letter down on the grave, and that's when he gets her, and you know, everybody's there, and she's floating up in the air. Now I don't remember how they found out to play the music, but they put, I can't, who's the Kate Summer, who's the singer of the song? So they play her song, right? So they put headphones on her, and they play her jam, and that creates a portal back to real life. So she's no longer, oh, so damn, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry, y'all. Nancy and Robin go to visit Vecna's only living victim, Victor Creel, right? Which, find out he's a very important person. They go and visit Victor Creel. Funny thing is, Victor Creel is actually the original Freddy Krueger actor, which is hilarious. So they go and talk to him, and he like, I guess when he was getting dropped, when his family got dropped by Vecna, he was about to get dropped, but he heard music. He heard his favorite song, and it took him out of that realm, and he was able to survive. So Nancy and Robin were able, they told Steve and the gang, they told him, yo, play her favorite song. You gotta find her favorite song and play it. That way you can snap her out of it. So Lucas plays her jam, and as she's floating in the air, like she's like on her way, all that was left was this shit right here. It was almost there. And in her mind, like in you know, the world, she's running, you know what I'm saying? And she, you know, it was very like tense. This scene was tense, and she, you know, spoiler alert, she makes it, and she gets away. So they found out how to beat Vecna's, like, to get out of the mind fuck. 11 gets word that her friends are in danger, so she needs her powers back. So one of the biggest twists in the show was we find out who Vecna actually is. Now, Vecna is the son of Victor Creel. His name is Henry Creel, and he was actually number 1. 11, she's the 11th. Vecna is number 1. So his powers are the same, like like you know, telekinesis, moving objects, shit that 11 has. So there is a battle between 11 and number 1, because what happens is when she's a kid, it starts off the whole show with, you know, basically all of the children, all of the test subjects are dead. They're all killed and mutilated. And Papa comes in to the room, and it's Elle, and she's turned around and she's got her fucking shit out, right? So it looks like she did it. But in reality, the twist is that number 1 actually did it. And 11 banished his ass to the Upside Down, where he becomes Vecna. He created the fucking mind flare, yo. Mind fuck. Anyway, so she heeds word that, you know, she gets word that her friends are in danger, so she goes back to get her powers back. She, you know. So that was cool. And then, you know, we had the Hopper situation where he's over in Russia, he's trying to escape. You got, oh, is it Joyce? I think it's Joyce. Joyce and Murray get kind of caught up with this dude named Yuri. He was pretty funny, but he was kind of annoying. Like he was such a fucking like skeezer. Like, I don't know, those characters piss me off in movies for some reason, in shows. Like, yo, damn, bruh. So he basically fucked them over, and he fucked Hopper over at the same time, and Hopper got caught up and thrown into this little dungeon with a bunch of other people to fight a Demogorgon. But Hopper, you know Hopper, he know how to fight a Demogorgon, so it didn't faze him. He was good. So that storyline, they're trying to get back home, right, with Hopper and them. Okay, so over in California, you got Buddy, the pizza guy, who is from, I don't know if y'all ever seen the Netflix movie where the dude got his dick cut off, and yeah, it's that kid, the long hair kid. He's funny, yeah, man. He's always high and shit. And you got Jonathan trying to get back home to be with Nancy, but she's with Steve because this love triangle shit is starting to get obnoxious. Anyway, you got all of these storylines playing out. Meanwhile, you still have Eddie Munson, who is on the run from the entire town of Hawkins because they think he killed these people. So, and Munson doesn't know what's going on. He was like, bro, I was in the house, the girls just started snapping up, so I ran. I didn't touch her. But nobody's gonna believe that because they already think he's a weirdo because he plays Dungeons and Dragons and shit. And he's just, and you know, when you first meet him, he's very like, you know, that's how they introduce characters that always end up having good hearts at the end. So that whole thing plays out, and we get to the point where we're getting ready to fight Vecna, right? So the gang devises a plan to go to the Creel house where Vecna is. Vecna is in the upside down version of the Creel house because, like I said, Elle banished her. So he went back home and was like, all right, I'm gonna post up here and I'm finna torment people. So Elle banishes him to the upside down version of the Creel house. So they understand that. So they go to the Creel house in their world, and wherever he is, the lights are going crazy. So they understand if you go into the upside down version of this place, that's where he'll be. So they're using Max as bait because she escaped, so he's gonna want to come for her again. And they all kinds of shit. So we're jumping to part 2 now. So let's just finish the video with Vecna and how they defeat him, and you know, a couple of the other things that happen. So he's too smart. He's way too smart. He knew the whole time. He was like, bro, y'all think I can't hear y'all? I know exactly what y'all are doing. You're not finna get me, right? So he can, you know, basically he can control people and control your mind and make you think that things aren't happening, right? So they take Max and Lucas go through there. Vecna catches Max, right? So now she's thinking Lucas is shitting on her. He's saying all the worst stuff. So she's like, oh damn, like got my ass. So you've got that. Our gang goes into the upside down, which was one of the coolest scenes in the show when Eddie, Dusty, Robin, Nancy, and Steve all go to the upside down, and they're fighting off the hive mind. They're fighting the bats, and they're fighting what the fuck are they called? The little vine things, and they're fighting those things off. And there was a point where you thought Steve was about to get 86 because the bats is getting him, and he survives, and Vecna like when they're all on the upside. Oh, he gets Nancy before she can leave the Upside Down. They all figured the plan out, and you know, they're jumping up. This is in part at the end of volume 1. She gets caught by Vecna, but Vecna was not planning on killing her. He had no intentions of killing Nancy. He just wanted to send a message. He was like, listen, I'm gonna need you to tell your friends I'm fucking them up. Tell your friends, like, they get in that work if they fuck with me. And that's basically how that went. So when they return to the Upside Down, it's same gang. It's Robin, Eddie, Nancy, Steve, and Dusty. And they all go into the Upside Down in hopes to kill Vecna. They've created Molotov cocktails. They have Nancy has a sawn-off shotgun. They got spears and shit, and they're going to fight. Now, we do lose Eddie Munson, which kind of pissed me off, but they really did bring his character full circle, and by the end of it, you really, really, really do love Eddie Munson as a character. I mean, I don't know anybody who didn't, but he does die. He you know, he was a coward the entire first half, and by the end of it, he became a hero, really. You know, he sacrificed himself to save Dusty, which I thought Dusty was gonna die, but he ends up getting killed by the bats. The bats, you know, they didn't take Steve, but they ended up taking Eddie. And Max does get caught by Vecna. Vecna gets Max, and before Elle comes back, right? Sorry, the camera cut off. Elle gets to Max by going in her mind when Vecna invades her mind. So now they're having a fight. Vecna and Elle are fighting each other in Max's mind, which is legit. So, but he does get Max. She doesn't die. Almost, though. She almost dies. But Elle saves her, but he does get her. And that basically spawns the fucking apocalypse. So now, he gets Max and he escapes. And he spawns the apocalypse. He opens up the world. So now the Upside Down is actually in the world. There is no Upside Down anymore. It's all in one world. And the Mind Flayer getting ready to come. It's about to get shitty in season 5. But there's a lot more that happens. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Those are just the main points. Vecna is a menace. That is a villain. That is a villain for your ass. All right. He's very powerful, very smart. The Duffer Brothers knew what they were doing with this entire season. Like, they brought out all the stops on this one. So now I'm excited for season 5, because if y'all could do this on 4, your ideas need to just snowball. They need to just, season 5 is going to be just ridiculous. We probably won't get that for a few years, but all in all, man, I'm giving Stranger Things for a 10 out of 10. That shit was phenomenal. I can barely find anything that was wrong with it. But listen, the storytelling was on point, the character development was on point, all of them, except for maybe, I mean, Mike didn't really get too much screen time. It wasn't really about Mike, even though he was basically the leader of the entire show up until Elle, you know, she got real powerful and shit. But every single character was fleshed out, and they all had, that's why it was 2 parts, because I think they needed to flesh out the characters the way they wanted to. But y'all, hey, if you fucking with Stranger Things like I am, subscribe, because we're gonna talk about more. Like season 5, I can't wait for it. It's gonna be hell of a time. So y'all go ahead and see me on the next video, and I'll catch you later.